Haunted Travers presents A Haunted Family. This book is about the lineage of the direct descendants of the witch, Addie Belle Fraley. Chapter 1. Do it again, Grandma. Ellen would beg her granddaughter, Addie Belle, to continue her favorite game played growing up. Addie Belle was already so deep into her years, and her health was in the condition that moving proved difficult. Arthritis and other rheumatisms were slowing her down. It proved quite the task for Addie Belle to keep up with the youngest of her daughter's 4 children, Ellen. Ellen was a toddler with youth, energy, and a young, vibrant, and good-natured personality. She would pass the days being watched over by Addie Belle, while her daughter, Vina May, would try to make ends meet as the sole provider for the extended family of 6. Limited in movement, the only way Addie Belle could play with her favorite of 4 granddaughters would be to entertain her in her own special and unique way. She would make the house knock for her granddaughter. No patty cake games for Ellen when Addie Belle was in charge with entertaining the young Ellen. No, she would tap into a paranormal vein that many of us, not schooled into the abilities and lore entrenched in the paranormal community, would find hard to come to terms with. Where this paranormal vein of ability came from could perhaps be tracked to the hills of Kentucky, where Addie Belle heralded from, along with several of her siblings. What is it about the mystery of the Kentucky mountains that seems to generate so many stories of the paranormal? At some point, the legends and folklore seem so dense with frequency told that the strange and unusual tales endured by a family are as deeply entrenched in the history of the family as the prevalence for blue eyes or some other genetic influence in a family's lineage. It is thought in this family that even the paranormal abilities, such as the ability to see and speak with spirit, experience premonitions and psychic abilities, are all linked to the genetics in the family. As the next generation is born into existence, and those that preceded them witness their abilities to experience the paranormal manifest, this seems to solidify this theory that these skills are perhaps passed down by Addie Belle herself to her kin wherever they live. At some point, it is known that Addie Belle would move away from the hills of Kentucky, taking her family along with her up to Charlevoix, Michigan. Many contributing factors would perhaps influence the family's decision to move. Sugarloaf Mountain in Kentucky in the early 1900s was an active volcano, with the seismic activity creating earthquakes and deep audible rumblings. The trees in the vicinity were damaged and splintered, and the smoke billowed out several fissures in the mountains. Another reason for the exodus could be attributed to the state of Michigan's booming lumber economy in the north and commercial auto industry in the south, which meant opportunity for a more stable life for her family economically. This chance to distance herself from the poverty entrenched throughout Kentucky amid World War I may have been an influence to leave the Kentucky Blue Hills behind. The last reason was more sinister, and a more unsettling reason at that. Addie Belle was perhaps trying to distance herself from the local legends she had grown into within the community she lived among in Rowan, Kentucky. An accumulation of witnessed unearthly gifts exhibited by Addie Belle had the locals in her small village labeling her a witch. Long after all her 20 children, most who would not make it into adulthood, had passed on to the next realm of existence from this mortal plane, Addie Belle would take up housing with her youngest daughter, Vina May, during her sunset years and assist on however she could in helping to raise her children. Long after all her 20 children, most who would not make it to adulthood had passed into the next realm of existence from this mortal plane, Addie Belle would take up housing with her youngest daughter, Vina May, during her sunset years and assist with however she could in helping to raise her grandchildren, including babysitting while Vina May worked. So entertaining was the make the house knock game for Ellen that she would recall long into her own life the absolute awe of what she had witnessed her grandmother do when she was a young child. This awe perhaps was found from the very first game played. So would begin Ellen's fascination of the knock game she experienced with her grandmother, and perhaps her preference for playing this game above all others when Addie Belle was in charge of her caretaking. To begin, Ellen would request that Addie Belle make a lap, so the older matriarch would set aside her corncob pipe and then proceed to brush aside her long, braided salt and pepper hair that touched the floor of her barely 5-foot frame when she walked. She would start to embrace her female line of kin in a warm, kind gesture. Her arms would wrap around Ellen in a circling embrace and enfold her gently into her lap. Snuggled in nice and tight in Addie Belle's loving arms, the game could truly begin. It was always Ellen's choice on where in the house the knocking would come from, so to start she would point in the direction of where the knock should be heard, and then wait for a response from the house. The first direction chosen, whether it be the ceiling directly above them, the floor beneath their feet, or the table that stood next to their chair, would inevitably produce clearly a single knock that would echo back from the direction chosen. The game would continue with Ellen choosing her next site. After chosen, she would wait to hear the single knock again echo back through the house, and thus the game would unfold with Ellen choosing her site of choice for the knock, and Addie Belle summoning some sort of supernatural gift to force the house to knock, and ensuring that her favorite granddaughter was entertained truly. After the game concluded, Ellen would move on to other tasks of the day, as children with short attention spans do, never truly grasping until adulthood that grandmothers are not all endowed with this chilling attribute of making a house knock. Most, it seems, are just resigned for their abilities to baking sweet treats for their grandchildren, but not Addie Belle. Ellen and her three sisters, as they grew older, were going to witness many more of Addie Belle's abilities that earned her the designation of a Kentucky witch. Thank you so much for listening to Haunted Travers, presenting a haunted family. To be notified on when Chapter 2 is released, be sure to follow Haunted Travers and click on the notification bell. Haunted Travers is a ghost tour and ghost investigation company located in Traverse City, Michigan. For more information, please visit our website at hauntedtravers.com. Chapter 2 unfolds as all four of our grandchildren witness a supernatural gift while Addie Belle is hosting a small party with family.